Sorry, with all the excitement, I forgot to grab a mic. See, Mitch? I told you I was going to wait until the last second to say.
Keep me guessing.
And we're going to transition now as we move into our message. And this one's going to take a second, so you're just going to be patient. Somebody booby-trapped the music stands. I don't know who wrapped that one up, but... I'm thinking this isn't the winner. I'm thinking that one's the winner at this point. Yeah, that's pretty normal. Some of you might not know, but I am not the smoothest person in the world. And stuff like that happens to me a lot. I know. You guys are going to be trying to figure out where your music is in a second, but I still need a couple things. I need somebody to press escape on the computer. I'm going to try to lower this, which we've already seen my ability on getting it to go up. I'll try to do now. Let's see. Didn't want to try it right now. We're going to be in John chapter 21, 1 through 14, if you want to grab your Bibles. We are youth groups that we call ourselves the TAB. And what the TAB stands for is the Tabernacle, which is a meeting place between God and man. And whenever we meet, that is our hope. We hope that we do that. We hope that we do meet between ourselves and God. In our youth group, we've been having some problems. In the past 8 weeks, 6 of them, we've been in the 40s. And the highest night being 49. We've had over 200 people attend our youth groups this year. That's a lot of people in and out of a room. Some people might not think that's a lot because they come from California. So, not to point out anything. But for a small town like this, that's a lot of people through one room. That's a lot of lives that we get 1 or 2 shots with. And that's it. 1 or 2 shots to share with them that God really does love them. That they do have a purpose. And tonight here, I want to thank a couple people before we go into the message. I'm just giving you time to find where John's at. But I wouldn't be able to do the job that I do without some of the volunteer helpers that I actually have. And I'm totally going to miss people, and I just ask that you forgive me for that. So I'll just start with the one that's popping in my head right now. On Tuesday nights, we meet with our 10th through 12th graders. We did this experiment to see if we could try to split the youth group with junior, senior high. And we've had one guy come in every week helping us out just to make sure that unruly kids like Alyssa would just pay attention to the lessons, stuff like that. So thanks to Mitch for coming in there for that. On Wednesday nights, we have quite a few ladies who come in and help out. Lacey, my wife, Cheryl Patton, Karen Austin, which is right back there, and Sharon, which is right over there. And so I appreciate you guys a lot. They lead groups during group time. Sharon and Lacey both do the worship team stuff, and they just do an awesome job. Ben runs buses for us, and so does Pastor Kevin on Wednesdays to make sure that kids get here, and I appreciate you guys too. And John Carlson. See, that was the one I was going to forget, John and Evelyn. So I knew I was going to forget somebody, so lucky you. So thank you guys for all the help. So let's get into this message really quick. And my messages, believe it or not, are quite a bit shorter during youth group than they are normally. So you will love this message, if only because even if it's terrible, you have less time to sit through it. In college, I went on this thing called NICO, which some of you have heard about. It's 2 or 3 day torture of the trip. And basically it's a leadership training. And I had to go on it in college because I was going to be in charge of a floor in the men's dorm. And on one of the days, this was the second day, they asked us, or it was the third day, they asked us to follow a map. And it was a very long walk. Up mountains, down mountains, around mountains. And you had to be able to read a map to do it. And you were in groups, and my group was pretty cool. I was the one guy in the group that was a little larger, and had to pace myself, if you will. And if you know what pacing means for a fat guy, it's like walking up a hill and you go about 10 feet and you go, awkward. Okay, that was my experience. Well, this was an all-day thing, and we were just walking and walking and walking. And they'd given us this map, and you had to follow the map precisely. And they actually had ribbons on trees that if you were paying attention, you would notice if you were going the wrong way. Well, we also had one adult leader with us that was supposed to make sure that we didn't get too lost. And we were walking along, and this other group and our group were kind of keeping pace with each other. We had the downhill section in the first part of the day. And as we were walking, they got ahead of us, and all of a sudden we saw them sitting on the side of the road eating lunch. And we knew we were close to the halfway point, which was where we were going to have lunch. We knew it was by a river, and they had stopped, so we just kept walking. Well, we didn't know that they had stopped because they wanted to trick us to walk past where we were supposed to walk. And we were having a great time. We were walking along and making jokes. And the road that we were on, because it was an actual road at this point, gravel, but we were on a road, and so it was comfortable, and it was downhill. And we just kept walking. What we didn't know was that we had already passed that point where we were supposed to stop. The directions were clear, but we just kept doing what we had been doing all day. And suddenly our guide, named Guy, just said very quietly, "You hear the river anymore?" And we all stopped, just like dead in our tracks. Nope. Like, we should probably turn around. So we turn around, and sure enough, we'd walked probably a half mile the wrong direction. And we had passed tons of out-of-bounds ribbons all along the way. But we had always, or that whole day, we had just been walking. That was what we were used to, despite the guidance from the map. That's what we're used to. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, and we're going to see if this little doodad will work. This message is called Now What? And we're going to start reading in John chapter 21. And it says this: Afterward, Jesus appeared again to his disciples by the Sea of Tiberias. It happened this way. Now this is after Jesus died, and after he rose again from the tomb. Simon Peter, Thomas, called Didymus, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and 2 other disciples were together. "I'm going out to fish," Simon Peter told them. And they said, "We'll go with you." So they went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. He said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some." When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved, that's John, said to Peter, "It is the Lord." As soon as Simon Peter heard him say, "It is the Lord," he wrapped his outer garment around him, for he had taken it off, and jumped into the water. The other disciples followed in the boat, towing the net full of fish, for they were not far from shore, about 100 yards. When they landed, they saw a fire burning, coals there with fish on it, and some bread. Uh-oh, I hit the wrong button. I don't know what button that was. Oh, you gotta love technology. Hold on. don't make these for really big fingers. There we go. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you have just caught." Simon Peter climbed aboard and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153, but even with so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the third time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. So in this story, we have the disciples. And they're doing what? Fishing, right? So the question that I have for you, and we're going to do several questions here. What did most of the disciples do before they followed Jesus? What was their profession? Okay, most of them were fishermen. Okay, especially these guys. They had their own little family business going. Okay? And like the story said, this is the third time that Jesus has appeared to them since he died and rose from the dead. Yet here they are, just a couple days later, and they're out fishing. Out fishing. So we're going to ask a series of questions, like I said, and we're going to start with this one. What did it mean that Jesus arose from the dead? What did it mean that Jesus rose from the dead? What does that teach us? Anybody throw something out? Right here in the front row.
There's life after death.
Okay, there's life after death. What else?
He conquered death.
What?
He conquered death.
He conquered death. What else? Right there. Okay. He had no sin, so there was no power over him from death. What else? Right back here.
He was wrapped up into a mummy.
That's true. And then he came back to life and he was no longer wrapped up like a mummy, right? Well, I wrote down two things that it showed us. One, I think that's probably been covered. Number one, Jesus defeated death and sin. Him raising from the dead showed us that he had defeated death and he had defeated sin. Very important. Because if he had died and just stayed dead, that means death and sin would have conquered him. The second thing is it shows us that Jesus is actually God. He has the power over death.